today we are doing post-operative checks on a mower. Now this isn't a pre-start check, this is after we've used the machine and after we have cleaned the machine. So the things we're going to be running over are going to be real basic. Do safety features work? Is the machine damaged or broken in any way? Oil and fuel levels, and if we're using battery powered equipment, have batteries been removed and isolated. Then we want to be storing the machine correctly, so storing the machine in a cold, dry location, somewhere that the environment or any sort of factors or people are going to be able to cause any sort of damage or harm to the machine or themselves. So first of all, before we do anything or any sort of checks on the machine, we want to isolate it. So one way we can do this on the petrol powered mower is we can remove the HT lead. So this stops any sort of sparks going to the spark plug, which then would ignite the fuel within the engine. Next, on the handlebar here, we can ensure that the machine is turned to off, so there's an on-off switch. Then we're completely sure that this machine will not start in any way. Other machines might have areas where you can turn the fuel off on the sides, usually around the airbox, and that then isolates any fuel. So if we're removing carburetors or anything like that during maintenance, we can ensure that the machine is safe. So now the machine is safe, what we're going to be doing first of all is visually inspecting the mower, so we can sort of check it while it's upright. Is there any leaks? Is there anything on the floor? Are there any parts missing? Are all the safety features in place? We have the guards in place, we have the box, everything handle wise, operator control presence is all there and working completely fine. All the wheels are attached, they've got good motion, they're not bent in any way, they're not damaged. So then what we can move on to while we've got the mower in this situation is we can check things like oil. So with a 4-stroke engine, we're going to have a dipstick like this, which will have our oil levels on. So we can see 2 different levels here, the maximum and the minimum, and we want to be within those levels. Other things we can be checking while we're here is quickly checking the air filter, just to ensure that it's not wet or damaged in any way, and clearing it for any debris, and then ensuring that the machine either has or hasn't got any fuel in it, dependent on your storage requirements. If you're storing the machine within a dry place which is locked and contained, you can store fuel within the machine. If you're storing the machine somewhere that might not be as secure, it was always recommended to not store any fuel in the machine, especially if you're leaving it over long periods of time. So we can pop those back on, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to flip the mower over and then check the underside of the deck and ensure that that's safe. So we spun the mower around here because what we want is the air filter to be facing towards the top. Otherwise what can happen is with mowers, particularly like this one, where there isn't an off switch for the fuel will leak out of the carburetor and through the fuel filter, then making our fuel filter wet but also flooding the carburetor. So we'll have difficulty starting the engine on the next time we want to use the machine. So flipping this mower over, what we're checking for here is any sort of visual damage again. Is there any cracks? Is there any dents? Is there any debris? We can see that the blade is relatively sharp, but on the back of that I can also see that there is damage to the deck on this mower, which would actually render it unusable because there's a potential that future debris that might be mown over could potentially then be flung towards an operator or a bystander. While we're here as well, we can also see this debris, twigs and grass clippings which have been left by the previous operator. Or it could actually be ourselves that when we've used the machine before and haven't cleaned it properly. So these are the sort of things we're checking, and we can work through a little bit of a checklist. We also have here, you can see the sort of mulch guard or the side tube. So we can open that up and we can check that that's safe and in order, or we can just ensure that it's screwed in place and it's not going to move and we're not going to get any issues from any sort of operation with that. So our final checks are safety stickers, so we can see that these decals are in place, they haven't been jet washed off or they haven't fallen off during use or anything like that. And then while we're doing the last little bit of a whip round the machine, we're going to be checking for any sort of grease points. On this machine we don't have any, but what we can be doing is oiling any sort of cable mechanisms on either end of either the machine or the operator's controls.